Islam, Islam, Islam. I'm here today, nobles, to holler at you guys for a little bit. I'm in like Raheem Brown L, and today we're gonna talk about some dirty Moors and how they talking this bullcrap and how they trying to slander RV Bay publication. I've been doing some research, and you have these Moors that's running around here in their lower cells making fraudulent packages and making fraudulent IDs, you know what I mean, and running around here doing a disservice to our nation. So I'm gonna show you guys a couple of things that I have found on the internet, and I want y'all to be privy to this knowledge because I'm sick and tired of these Moors running around here taking advantage of Moors' birthrights and nationality. Now, there's a lot of Moors out here say they this, that, and the third. They say they grand sheiks. They say they this, that, and the third. But their actions and deeds is not speaking louder than their words. So within that, I mean, we're finna deal with nothing but facts, and we're gonna deal with nothing but well, yeah, we're gonna deal with facts today because I'm tired of it. You have people that's out here, all they want to do is gratify their lower selves. They don't care who they hurt. They don't care who they harm. All they thinking about is a bag of Federal Reserve notes, which this movement is not all about that. This movement is about uplifting for humanity. That means uplifting your people, putting them in the right mindset, keeping them on the right path. Now, if you doing any fraudulent activities as far as putting barcodes on your paperwork, putting barcodes on your ID, that's just like you being a party to the U.S. corporation and all corps. That's making you a non-descendable being. So let's get into this. Now we got affidavit of facts. Okay, and what it's saying is that an undisputed affidavit of claim becomes final judgment when one fails to answer to refute an affidavit of claim made against him. The affidavit first presented is considered absolute in truth. By not rebutting what has been claimed against him, one becomes guilty by his silence. Idem, non esse, et non apparent. It is the same thing not to exist and not to appear. Quae tacit consentire ventur. He who is silent appears to consent. A legal affidavit is undisputed truth unless a counterclaim or rebuttal has been made. Since an affidavit is sworn and pledged by faith, it is presumed to be absolute truth unless another sworn claim counters it in rebuttal. It is safer to be deceived than to deceive. Notice to principal is notice to agent. Notice to agent is notice to principal. Submitted. Okay, this is what this say. Submitted an application to RV Bay Publication for a more national identification card on October 17, 2017. I did not receive a full disclosure of a contract I will be getting into without giving consent. RV Bay Publications has engaged in fraud by claiming to utilize international jurisdiction, yet only being within the bonds of domestics. Right? This is his claim now. This is off um Calimeo Internet. Now, Calimeo Internet is they selling RV Bay packages, right? And they are trying to slander RV Bay for their attributes of putting information out. They doing a due diligent job of putting the information out and keeping us in hindsight up to speed in knowing. So if we allow these Moors to keep trying to uh, attack our Moorish divine and national movement, okay, then we are subjected to be slaves and we are subjected to be right back in the same predicament that we were in starting out. Now, we got this good affidavit of lies, straight up lies, okay, submitted. Okay, an application to RV Bay Publication for a more national identification card on October 17, 2017. I did not receive a full disclosure of the contract. I will be getting into without giving consent. RV Bay Publication has engaged in fraud by claiming to utilize international jurisdiction, yet only being within the bonds of domestic. At Sikh Hata Nation weekly address 55 with Chief Nanya Shah Abu Ely, 52315. Now, this is what I say with Chief Naya. Okay, this is at Silk Nation weekly address. Okay, so if you are claiming that, right, but you got Chief Naya Shabu Eli, right? So you're dealing with Indian shit. You see what I'm saying? And then they got a link, youtubewatch.com right here. Then it says, I received as Moorish nationality. I received a Moorish nationality card on October 31st, 2017 from RV Bay Publications. I could have been placed in serious situation that could have damaged my legally and or physically. Moorish nationality gets you jail time. RV Bay Publications are a fraud. Now, you got this down here. And it's another link on YouTube that you have these damn I'm gonna call them what they are, treasonous people that are trying to bring claim against RV Bay, but and at the same time they are using their writs and their documents, and they are defrauding RV Bay by using the same nationality cards that they are using. So see, listen to this now. Fact 3. This is what they say. This is a fact. This is not a fact. RV Bay Publications claims to be a school, yet has provided no record of being a school, and also RV Bay Publications accept Federal Reserve notes for school IDs. Now, don't y'all get the slanderment that's going on right now? More is like they are slandering the hell out of RV Bay Publications. These people that are being sent by the Europeans, the modern Europeans, the amalgamated Moors, that's using Moors to attack our nation. This is what they do in plain sight on a daily basis. These people blatantly send agents that don't know themselves, okay, to start all this folly and confusion that's going on out here. Now, if you using, and I'm going to repeat myself, and if you using any type of barcode on your paperwork, on your damn ID, you're fraudulent. Okay, because you cannot sell people birthrights. Okay, so let's just get that clear and transparent. Because RV Bay Publication claims to be a school, yet has provided no records of being a school. But yet, indeed, RV Bay is a university. Yet, and indeed, this is for it's called self-education, self-iterate. Okay, so you can. That's what we all about. I self-law am master, right? It's not you self-law and master. No. It's I self-law and master. So for people to come into this Moorish nation, right, and don't have the right mindset and have the right due diligence to go into doing research, to go into constantly thinking and constantly researching and cross-referencing things that will make more sense to you, then you are the dummy. Okay, I am an adapt student, so that means that I am not a master teacher yet, but I'm adept in my studies and I'm studious. Okay, so if I'm claiming to be a Moor and I'm claiming to be a noble, right, I have to know what a noble and Moor, entails. I have to be on point, just like a pen, okay, that going across paper with ink. So anyway, it says down here they got RV Bay Publication student IDs, right? And they got the fact number 4. RV Bay Publications do not clarify status and standing while only giving a definition of status. They got at Sikhata Nation weekly address 55 with Chief Naya Shabu Eli 523.15 HTTPS www2.com, and then it has RV Bay Publication National Identification Cards page. Now, and then it has Fact 5, RV Bay Publication information misleads when informing visitors and students. Adepts on the writs of freedom page to walk in with, and also to utilize the Constitution and Supreme Courts, even though the Constitution is void in courts. Now, you see how these people slander RV Bay publication, and then they want to try to make a claim to something talking about the Constitution is void in courts. Well, then that means that the courts are de facto. That means the courts are quasi. That means the courts have the problem, right? That means if you're going into court, you're supposed to be in your proper person, right? Right? Sir jurors, right? So what type of information and slander these people are putting down? Like this is so much treasonous. This is treasonous. This is treasonous all day. Look at it, boys. Look at it. They got a whole treasonous campaign right here. But these Moors think they doing something by doing this and going against the prophet, going against CM Bay, going against the nation, going against the yet unborn. So, but these Moors, right, that don't know themselves, sleepy-headed Moors, think they know everything, don't want to study, and think that they got to go and get everything from their colonized oppressors. You know what I mean? Y'all are nothing but some good house Negroes that y'all love to be. All right? Y'all waiting on a job, y'all waiting on some assistance, y'all waiting on somebody to tell y'all good slave-minded people what to do. All right? This is not for you. If you want to be a good old bootlicking, that type of fear-mongering person, you know what I mean? We human beings over here. All right? We're not into that not claiming who we are. You know what I mean? Because we have autonomous right to claim who we are. Okay? Now let's go. Hold up. Let me see something. We're gonna do this, y'all. We're gonna do this right here. Now, we just gonna do this like so. If we're gonna go through a lot of this, we have to understand one thing more, is that if we don't be unified and standing up to what's right, and to keep the Prophet Noble Drew Ali up front, and to get rid of all these dirty Moors, well then we are the ones that, let me see. Let's go to this right here again. Okay. Affidavit of fraud. Let's see that again. Let's go to this one again because I want to come up out of that. Yeah, but this is where the packages and stuff like that they had, that they were sending, and then they got all these deliveries and stuff like this on this website that they are fraudulently putting together. You see what I'm saying? But that's the only one that I see, Moors. It's gonna be a couple of more dirty Moors that's gonna try to come and do all type of dirty, unnoble things against our nation. Because if you're doing all this right here, Moors, you see what I'm saying? Then all of y'all little COINTEL operatives is on Facebook, on Fedbook, you know what I mean? So you can go and look at real Moors and try to criticize real Moors for uplifting fallen humanity. When you dirty Moors, which you stinking and dirty, you leave a trail. You leave a trail. So you know what I mean? So how's you saying what you're saying, and then Moors are coming and telling you, okay, these people are playing games with RV Bay publications, and They are trying to lead Moors the wrong way. So I just want y'all Moors to know. I just want y'all Moors to know one thing, that not everybody is with you. You got Moors that's against you. You got Moors that come on your page, that try to speak to you, that try to come on and talk like they know something, all right, which is ignorance. Because if they knew something, we wouldn't be having any type of problem. If they had the proper mindset, which thought is Allah, if they had that, then everything will work out. Everything will be on the same accord. But now you got these dirty Moors that all they want to do is chase Federal Reserve notes. Okay, when they supposed to be the heirs, they supposed to be the heirs of everything. So why are you chasing Federal Reserve notes? What you need to have and what you need to do is thank Allah for giving you everything you need on your journey. Okay? And do what's right. This is for high road Moors. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. What do y'all don't understand by love, truth, peace, freedom, justice? A lot of y'all just claiming that. Y'all just saying it out your mouths, but still devils. Okay? Y'all are just running them up, trying to make all this Federal Reserve notes as much as you can make. But don't worry about it, though, because I'm not worried about you Moors. You Moors, y'all can keep on doing y'all dirty actions, y'all dirty deeds. Do what you do, because Allah is going to pay y'all in very, 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 very ill will way. Y'all think that y'all winning. Y'all think because y'all taking advantage of Moors, you see what I'm saying, you're winning. Just like the modern European, they think they winning because they taking advantage of Moors. You see what I'm saying? They think they're winning. But you're not going to win. At the end of the day, you're not going to win, son. You have to bow down to Mother Nature. You understand? You understand that? You got to bow down to all law. You understand that? So when you have these dirty Moors out here trying to slander real Moors that study, that's been putting out information for years, you got these slow Moors that just now coming, thinking they mojo because they got a little they got a little something going on. Yeah, let me get my mojo on. Yeah. Y'all think y'all doing something. Y'all ain't doing shit. All y'all doing is running amok and making y'all face look bad. You know how they say in the hood, my face good. My face card is good. In the hood, y'all heard of that term? My face card is good. That means that I can go to my people in the hood. They know I'm going to pay them back. They know whatever I get from them, they know I'm going to get that back. They know whatever I borrow from them, I'm going to get that back. They know that off the rip. So that's why they give me something, because they know I'm going to bring that back. Now, a lot of these Moors, your face card, it's not looking good, Mo. I'm telling you, Moab, if y'all doing all this dirty, putting barcodes on your paperwork, putting barcodes on your IDs, y'all can stay the hell away from around me, because I don't need that energy around me. Period. I'm looking for real, straight up, fearless Moors. Okay, that's gonna do what's right and do what the prophet exact. Now you had Moors that crossed out the prophet, that chased the prophet with a knife. You see what I'm saying? It's the same thing that's going on now. When he was running around, it's the same thing going on now with while Moors is coming in with their eyes wide open. Okay, you still gonna have opposition. You still gonna have these clandestine people that's gonna try to come and give you opposition. See what I'm saying? So, but you know me, I'm gonna stay on my square. And I'm not worried about you dirty Moors. I'm calling out what I see on my own with my third eye, because I already know that a lot of you thinking that y'all got something going on. Y'all don't got shit going on, because I promise you, this is all about a divine and national. You can't just be divine and don't have the national part, and you can't just be national and don't have the divine part. It don't work that way. It doesn't. So I want to leave y'all Moors the upright Moors in peace. You see? And I want to leave the dirty Moors, okay, to get their shit together, because that's just what it is. More, I'm telling y'all what it is. Y'all don't like me, that's fine. I don't give a damn. Y'all don't do shit for me no way. Give a fuck how you niggas feel. Because y'all are niggas right now. You're not Moors. Niggas act that way. When y'all gonna get up out of y'all nigga mentality? Since people want to say we niggas and shit, no the fuck we're not. That's what we choose to call ourselves. That's what we choose to portray. Okay? I'm a straight up man. More American national. So y'all can miss me with that nigga shit. Now, peace be upon y'all in Islam.
Blog Talk Radio.
Starts on to get you in. What? What? I'm rocking. Who says we in the building? Who says we in the building? We the Morris Macamazes, architect, British children, rappers, Friday searches like Jason, without the killing. But we promote life, oh, it's all about the feeling. Oh, we invoke life, yo, freedom, life here. So you might see him on the block getting the closet. Might be talking a cop, giving the project. Occasionally wearing his vest when he's walking. He's the turning head, whispering gossip. But he's locked in, and he's zoned out while we boxed in our own house. Studies the mystics, the Adams, the Magi, wisdom of the ancients, and all counts the fire. Possible mission, fundamental knowledge, extract the substance with minds of darkness. Use the source, don't care what's from before. As we know about being told, man knows God. Many before the floor, so God was. Placed in the devil's hands, molded the seven man. Two dogma rituals, these were spirituals. Brainwash subliminal, be thinking so a minimal. They're still criminal, in a world digital, so pitiful. Mental survival, so critical, it's visible. Can you see that life is wrong? Hashtag zombies, the waves of cyberpunk. Money for cell phones, it's nothing for alarm, chips is for arm. When brand new base, such a beautiful serenade. Women feeding me grapes, I'm feeding the hidden serenade. Whether the night they're great, bring me here affected the life you see. Speaking through not yet today. Show you the future in the next. It helps the people like the visionary death. Sun walking death, this one, the kids that found God look back. Used to see his friends. Forget being a prince, I'm a G. Only grown man, no donkey, the life you don't know me. Don't make me happen to the old me. That's like a couple hundred years. Walk around town with a couple hundred years and release the peace of up fears. The sun gon' shine for what's there. This young brother here just trying to get his third eye clear. More so, invest in your mind, body, and nuts. Real life rap, spitting over tracks, conscious thinking and living is then attacked. More so, invest in your mind, body, and nuts. Real life rap, spitting over tracks, conscious thinking and living is then attacked. So much of them sex, the sun takes the space, goons on blocks, fight boxes, still space. Real back, rap, who got cases, fight stains, the corridors of level faces. Game Jesus, full fences and no pretenders. I've been the I know my vibe was the vibe, but I'm reflecting. Let them make it so I let it ring. So build up and get it in. We on the verge, we on verge of living no being. Third eye seeing, cause I participate on winning.
They want to break me, shake, break, break me. Rolling with my name, B. Double on MC. So when it's crazy, for a minute that you think you can take me for a fool like a man who was glad being schooled by the foreign crew. You can take with me, right in front of the room in the dark. You can take me, you better move for our market. Our things will come, your resistance to target. Revealing all lies and it's the underwater. Genocide, carry and bombs, time market. Down for soldier, niggas took a light into exposure. Some big head fooling and I'm getting closer. Niggas down for around the fucking soldier.
Little homie, I was seeking a fortune, tired of misfortune. I just wanted a fortune. Everything that I never had, though I needed my fortune. Blowing like porcelain, hated fabulous porcelain. Getting broke, tired of being broke. Poverty is why I hope to see killing the soul. The city with the flow, mighty deep is the boat. Green is the lethal weapon, we one nation with low. When I speak up, I'm broke. Walk in the room with my aura feeling like heavy smoke. Feel like when it let me go. Under my nose, spinning the heavy coat. The dirty captain, the kiss the boy, yeah, the joke. The cost of living, higher profits, the private prison. These little jokes, study by just a big pushing. These little niggas, study niggas, just a real position. It's like the thing you never end the prison in the mission. I want to see the world, but I'm one man. A couple ones like me in this one plan. I want to see the world, but I'm one man. A couple ones like me in this one plan. Rasta, good God. Read up the pay every day. Uplift the sea cause we all pay. We enforce the law and we obey. Core parts from before until today. Reading my Quran and my Torah. Universal laws in more ways. Read 4 chapters, receiving 4 ways. Great divine love rules our first. Before I circle blocks, man, I circle 7 first. You bust the image, but your rhymes hurt. Declare 13, disrespecting earth. Love, but it's all in God's plan. Today's mathematics don't judge man. Unity of life, embodiment of truth. I'm responsible for every deed cause I've seen the proof. No, but true. Hey, you have to try it out for you. Cause nationality is not a color I can use. Jerry the roof. Standing on my square, even without shoes. On the highest authority, spirit of blue. Marcus Garvey, whirlwind times 2. The world's in the wind when the trumpet blew. Stand up, go into your bathroom. If you got a big floor ceiling, cut the light on and take a good hard look at yourself. You are the worst government. You know, and it took me a long time to understand that concept. I don't go ambassador. If I can govern myself, if I can govern my household, that's what I should be doing. Why should I walk out of my door and then leave everything that I know about myself in the house to go out and adopt something that I have no knowledge of? So we need to stop asking that question. I ask myself this question. If not me, then who? Destined wisdom, my friends, intelligent creatures, guardians of sacred knowledge, all making features. Secrets of the afterlife manifest the present day. Dirty mortals and scoundrels lose their heads in a pleasant way. Deceit and deception, negative past thoughts. Keep the awareness on point. Spirit messages never off. Inner realization encounters a higher self. Explain existence, explain my consistence. Without a foe, you never know, so fast, most resistant. Divinity, my twin flame, side chick and mistress. Metaphysics, Kabbalistic, Almarock mystic, patriarch, statistic. Make my thoughts sadistic, so indigenous. Call me Americanistic, invoking the ancestors. Saracen cryptic, suns on rotation, flows ecliptic, shatter all illusions. Reveal the realistic, sitting in the dark, holding the light marvelous. Recognize the artifice, skin so carbonous, hair so antenna. I feel them from Vienna, myriad of virtues, lessons in reptilian henna. Enlightenment seekers won't find it in mainstream. Focus as a laser, stay balanced like a beam. Not even a gymnast. Whenever I flip this, as above, so below, get out when within this. Don't think I'm a slave cause I speak in English. True, I'll leave the water, watch your flame get extinguished. Living in your higher, lower self is relinquished. Reputation of master teachers, call it distinguished.
All right. Peace and love, Morris. Peace and love. I trust y'all can hear me now. Thank y'all for tuning in to MHHS Eyes Wide Open Blog Talk Radio. Tons of Alive for April 2023 Gregorian calendar, of course. I am Mizraim, my left L, along with my brethren, Noble, Cujo, Admiral L. Peace, more.
Peace, more. Islam.
Islam, peace, all the good things. Man. So tonight's topic is turning negatives to positive, but I want to start with what you started with on the intro. I want to say thank you to all the Moors who have their eyes wide open and can see through the BS. The intro you played of the brother Melanick, I want to say thank you, and definitely thank you to the brother Melanick. I want to comment on this before we go in, right? Like, because, you know, this is, to me, it was interesting. There has been, as many of you know, a lot of people trying to slander or actually slandering RV Bay publications. That is a fact, right? We know that these are media ops. These are agents. Like with any movement that has any, you know, correlation to our people being liberated or freedom, specifically love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. You know, there are negative, you know, principles that go with that, and there are forces out there, or, you know, I don't even want to call them forces. I must say powers, because power is an illusion, right? Forces was real. So these so-called powers, you know, they implement ops to you know, disencourage our people from moving forward and what's right and exact. So what he was reading, like what you played in the intro, I recall reviewing that, right? And what's interesting to me is that, you know, these people make up nationalities, like the Sikh Nation or whatever they call themselves, right? Like these people want to be chiefs. These people want to be sheiks. They want the, you know what I mean? Like they put on the costumes and all of this with feathers and all of this to make you think that they are what they are not. And to, like, you know, act like we ain't what we actually are. So the interesting part about this, though, is that when he was reading, this person, right? Because I guess they all come under whoever Nanya is. I've never met him a day in my life. I don't really care to meet him. I don't correlate with their nationality. Of course, I want to say acknowledgement to all the true and de jure Washita Moors. But like anything else that's real, you got spin-offs and you got those who are fake and don't realize when they spent off, right? And so they have been accusing us of not really teaching nationality because, or doing correcting status right, because we haven't taught about Form SF 141 or 181 or whatever. Upon research of that, upon research of what they say, because we don't teach about Form SF 141 or 181, whatever that is, it leads back to a job application. Like that's literally what this form leads back to. Something about a job and the boxes that you can check on your job, like on your job application. You know, they ask about race and all of these things. I know it's different today because in these days and times, you can't just go fill out a job application. Like if you go to try to get a job, they're going to tell you to fill out the application online. That is a fact, especially if you're dealing with big corporations. Just because you're dealing with a big corporation doesn't mean you're going to get big money. But like, if you want to get hired, like if that's what you want to do, like it doesn't matter. You can show up crisp, clean, fresh cut, pearly white teeth, and they're going to tell you fill it out online. That's where it's at now. But prior to that, there was these forms where they asked you on the application what your race is, and you could decline to put what your race is. They were saying RV Bay Publications doesn't teach about nationality because we didn't teach about Form SF 141 or 181 part, whatever that is, right? And the options on those boxes was, I believe it was like black, white, Indian, Alaskan, Native, and all of these fictional constructs, right? Because we already know, and I know for those who don't know, this may sound crazy, but for the Moors who are tuned in right now, and I know y'all know, like we already know that black and white, first and foremost, are statuses. Like a Moor dark as midnight could go on to any form and check white, and they will be right and exact for checking that, because we know that that does not apply to Europeans. This is why nationality is important, right? So, like, white is a status. It does not mean Caucasian race. We know that. Why do we know that? Because we've been taught and we've researched that for ourselves. Some of you who haven't studied, that is going to sound crazy to you. Pardon us, because I'm talking to those who actually know. We know. I know we know, right? And I trust y'all do the research if you don't know to find that that is the truth. White does not mean Caucasian race, Indo-European race, any of that, right? These are actual statuses, right? Like social, civil statuses. That's what it is. The Europeans been getting away with it because, you know, they don't want to play, I don't want to say play, but the illusion in this matrix is, you know, people being color codes, right? Opposed to actually being themselves. So if we're not being ourselves, they're not being themselves, but they are, though. But on paper, there's a whole matrix of legalese and, you know, illusions to put you in the box, literally. So a Moor who think they Negro, black, and colored, they go for a job and check black on the thing. You know what I mean? That's a status. This is where all of these things start coming in. You're being taxed out your hard-earned so-called money or whatever, and all of these types of things. It's levels to it. It's levels to it. We're going to touch on some of them tonight. But, you know, at this moment in time, like, we're not going to cram 10, 15 years of knowledge into 3 hours right now. We're not doing that right now. But what I will say is, you know, that was the premise of them accusing us of not teaching about nationality and, you know, them being right and exact as they're claiming they're right and exact, and the cicada, oxicada, whatever they call themselves. I don't see this nowhere in none of the history books, but nonetheless, that's what they call themselves, and they say we being Moors are wrong, right? The nationality card is not right and exact. I know Moors personally who have open accounts, and I know some of us look at it like everything's supposed to be free, fine, but I'm saying everybody don't look at it from that perspective. But I know Moors who have opened accounts, electric accounts, gas accounts, all of this off the nationality card. Real talk. That's real fact. So when I hear people saying things like, the nationality card that RV Bay publication sells is some sort of fraud, I'm looking at them on what level? How is this getting you locked up? There are Moors who are entering into into civil contracts, civil engagements, all of that with the nationality card. What are y'all doing? What are y'all doing to whereas they're accusing you of being a fraud? And if you don't have the backbone for it, don't play with this. You know what I'm saying? That's my message. Like, don't even try to play with this. If you don't know it in your heart, soul, your mind, body, soul, etc., that what you're presenting, if you're looking for approval, you already on the wrong track. Like, and that's just a straight fact. If you're not dealing on the I am who I say I am level when it comes to presenting your nationality card, don't play with this. Don't even play with this, because this is dead serious. You have the right to contract under any name that you want, and that's fine. But, however, there are Moors who are making moves civilly, socially, economically with that same nationality card. No barcode on it. Straight facts. Now, the so-called IDs that the states and all that offer, yeah, they got a barcode on it. And in certain occasions, they will like scan your barcode, like scan the barcode on their fake IDs like it's a product or something like that. Like, you try to buy tobacco or something, they're scanning they're literally putting the same scanner to scan the product. They're scanning your ID card like you're a product. And if that's not disrespectful, I don't know what to say to y'all. Like, I don't know what y'all want. You know what I mean? But nonetheless, that's what it is. So anyway, the one he was reading, I read that joint and I looked this up, right? The return address he put went back to a hotel in Alaska, bro. Like a hotel in Alaska. That was where the return address for correspondence was, right? Upon further research, he worked at this hotel in Alaska. He worked there, but it didn't work out for him, right? Like, he was suing the hotel that he put RV Bay Publications or mailed anything to RV Bay Publications, and his corresponding location was a hotel in Alaska, and he was suing them for whatever employment situation he had. And so the common theme to me with these people is being employees, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. If you got to work for another corporation and get your daily bread, fine. I'm not knocking you. Do what you got to do. It is what it is, right? Like, but nonetheless, it's a theme of them biting the hands that feed them, in the sense of, all right, so you're saying respond to this location, which is a hotel that you got fired from for whatever reason, right? And you want that to be your return address. Now, listen, I understand nobody is exempt from experiencing hard times, but we know that those are temporary. Those are temporary situations, because hard times or tough times don't last. Tough people do, right? And so I don't know what else they're dealing with, but nonetheless, you could hear from, what was in the writ. This man wasn't really willing to stand on what he was claiming he was willing to stand on. And so when I say I'm a Moor, like, there's nobody in this world that could convince me otherwise. That doesn't mean that I don't know that I am American and that Moor and American is the same exact thing. I know that. We know that. So, like, if I present my nationality card, allodial nationality card, and nationality and identification card, I'm willing to stand on that. Because I also know that the states are giving out so-called IDs that say on it that these are not real ID. So when we're talking about the specific attributes of what identifies a human being, right? We know that that's what that nationality card does. Race, human, nationality, ancestral estate. These are all things that every other human being can identify with. How could you say that's not real, but then turn around and have a card that says on it, this is not real ID? and act like the real ID, for real, isn't real. And so what I'm seeing is the mentality of slaves, right, who are looking for a silver bullet to be free, not understanding, overstanding that it is a mentality, right? Man is mine in that sense. If you are not what you think, then you're not what you think. If you think that because somebody else says this, that, and the third, and these are coming from institutions of oppression that literally have their roots in so-called slavery, right? Or, servitude. And they tell you, oh, no, you can't, you're not that, this, that, and the third. And you believe that, then you don't know because you're in belief. You're looking for acceptance. Like, we are not looking for acceptance. Like, we already know who we are. Like, we don't need third parties to verify that. Though it's a beautiful thing when they do. But I'm saying that to say that, the whole foundation of where they're coming from is this SF 141 or 181 form that has something to do with employment. Right now, there are Moors who are starting businesses, have started businesses, are running successful businesses in their free national capacity, right? And never seen or signed up with an SF 141 or 181 form, whatever that is. That had nothing to do with their acumen, you know what I mean? Their will, their drive to have some sort of economic security. That's not what that is. But if you only looking at yourself as a worker, then you may need acceptance. Your mind state may be in, oh, they don't accept me because of this, that, and the third. And you get lost in that. And so I just wanted to start there with that. The fact that, that was Nanya and a few other people that was dealing with that, whatever salvation they was looking for, if their salvation was in the concept of being accepted by a corporation and that corporation didn't want to accept it, that's on them. You know what I'm saying? On the other hand, if you know yourself and you're just being yourself, you being who you say you are, I've seen many Moors actually have success with the nationality card, using it for civic purposes, because it is a civil document. When you're talking about identity, you're talking about civilized. That is a civil concept. There's nothing criminal about that, right? Unless you're stealing someone else's, right? So, that could be criminal. But if you're on your tip of I am who I say I am, this is my documentation to back it, and you can't say I'm not who I say I am. Again, I just want to refer back, yes, the rights of indigenous people, as it correlates with the law of the land, the 9th Amendment, the indigenous people have the right to self-identification. Let's not get that confused. Moors are indigenous to North, South, Central America. That is an absolute right. Whether they agree with it or not is another thing, but it's an absolute right. You have the right to self-identify if you so choose, right? And if you don't, whatever, you know what I mean? Just go about your way. Like, do what you're doing over there, it's fine. But don't say that Moors who are moving on an autonomous level are not right and exact because some corporation said so. That's where it's like, come on, man, what are y'all doing? Are y'all trying to be slaves or are you trying to be free? And listen, there are people who are actually free working jobs. So it's still, the mentality is not the same, right? It's not the same as a slave who says, oh, they're not accepting me because I don't have this, that, and the third, right? Like Noble Drew Ali said in the Divine Warning, the gold, the silver, and the commerce belong to the people and the people alone, right? So that's a fact. If we're going to deal on that degree, we got to really, understand that that's what it is or not. So yeah, when I'm listening to that and I'm seeing that, and this dude is in Alaska somewhere, living at / working at a hotel, whatever, and they're saying to him, "You're not this, that, and the third," and he's believing that. That's his world. That's what he's dealing with. We have nothing to do with that. You know what I mean? Like if you don't have a backbone with it, you think that you could just play with this, then you're gonna get the lessons that you need to move forward. Whether you're gonna move forward as a free thinking mind or as a slave mentality employee. And again, this is not a shot at anybody who's working for their daily bread. Cujo, one of the reasons I said I wanted to talk about turning negatives to positives was because a brother from my neighborhood, right, had a bad situation, right? Well, apparently a bad situation, back to jobs. And I was inspired to speak about this because I was speaking with a younger Moor who was complaining and almost borderline like making excuses, but then I understand on the other side it's not an excuse, it's a real reality. So he was saying like, he couldn't get a job because yeah, Alaska, Al Oxen, absolutely. You know what I'm saying? He was telling me like how he couldn't get a job in this specific town because of his alleged or so-called criminal background, like what's on his record. Now, it's funny because in this same town, one of my homies that I grew up with for a certain amount of time, because he had to go away in due time, right? He made a way for himself, like turned an absolute negative into a positive, right? And what I mean by that is, and again, I'm not promoting any lower self activity, but just on the real for real, right? Like turning a negative situation to a positive situation. This brother served 10 years for stabbing, right? Like he stabbed somebody. And when he told me about it, he was saying, yo, Miz, it was either me or them. Like I really had stabbed, you know what I mean? This person. And yeah, he was like, yo, I really had to stab him. It wasn't something I wanted to do, but I had to. It was either me or them. So he has this on his quote record, right? And so everywhere he got out, he served his 10 years, got out, he was facing similar situations of not being able to get a job. However, he turned his negative quote unquote record into a positive situation in the fact, and I'm saying this and it correlates with where these people are coming from. As far as SF 141 and 181 forms and jobs and all that, right? He turned his negative situation to an absolute positive and owned his life situations. Meaning, yes, he stabbed somebody up, served 10 years, got out, and now he's a butcher at a supermarket. Understand what I'm saying? That is definitely turning a negative stigma into a positive situation. So the brother is known on his record when they look him up, stabs. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what they pull up. He made it a part of his resume to whereas now he like, yeah, I stabbed somebody, but you know what? I'm good for being a butcher. And so now you go to the supermarket and he's slicing your salmon. He's slicing your lunch meat. He's slicing whatever your cheese, whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? Like he turned that shit into something whereas now he can survive off of it and it kind of fits his MO. You know what I mean? And so what I'm saying is like that's super dope to me. Like I'm not promoting violence or nothing like that, but I'm saying if you find yourself in a situation in this world where they're stigmatizing you for whatever it is you may have done, you may need to take that same energy and say, yeah, I'm good at that. Yeah, I stab people, but you know what? Instead of stabbing people or slicing people, I want to slice lunch meat. And I think I'm the perfect person for the job. straight like that. And this man is behind there, white suit, slicing everything. You know what I'm saying? And it fits him. It works for him. And so, you know, I just felt like when I seen that and talked to this brother, you know, it removes the excuses of why people can't get a job, why people can't do this, why people can't do that. Yes, we know we up against, you know, a heavy scope of discrimination, and they're looking for reasons. But when you own that, when you own your life, when you own what you've been through, it's hard to knock that. It is very hard to knock that. Man, come up to the job like, look, man, and even in these days and times, you know what I mean? I was telling the young brother, if that's not enough motivation for you to turn whatever your negative situation, like, I don't know his charges, I didn't want to ask him all of his charges, but I'm saying, like, you got to take that situation and put it to your resume of why you're good for something, right? So in these days and times, they're quote unquote legalizing cannabis. I'm like, if you got caught with some weed, like that's who they want to hire. If you can't figure out what you want to do to start your own business right now, but you need some money, like, do something. Like, if you got a record that's blocking you, turn that into a positive. So you got caught with some weed, there's dispensaries. They are accepting you right now. You know what I mean? Like, there's no excuse. So, you know, removing the stigmas is a very important thing. And when I seen that, I just, you know, it's not like he's the richest person in the world financially, but spiritually, that's some rich shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they trying to block you from getting any type of money because of, or finance or whatever. You know what I mean? And this is the reason why, and you turn that reason into why you should be making some money and start making something opposed to nothing. You know what I mean? Like, to me, that's just the fly. That's super fly. You know what I'm saying? And again, we know he might not be able to buy a mansion because he's a butcher, but, you know, one day he might own his own butcher shop. You know what I'm saying? And so, you know, when I was speaking about turning negatives to positives, it's a real thing. And, you know, he didn't care nothing about no SF-141, 181 form, none of that. He's like, look, this is what it is. I am who I am. I can't escape it. This is what I'm trying to do. And he's doing that, bro. That, yo, to me, that's just fire. You know what I'm saying? Like, he really turned a negative situation positive. And so, like, it starts to remove the excuses. You understand what I'm saying? Of why, oh, you know what I mean? I got caught with some weed. Now they don't want to hire me. Go to the dispensary. Try to get a job. Go to the place where they're growing it. Try to get it. You know what I mean? Like, you got some knowledge about something dealing with this particular subject. Whatever that knowledge is, you got to present yourself. Own it. Just own it. Present yourself in that light of, this is why you fit for this particular situation. But a lot of the times what starts happening is people make excuses. You know, and it's like, all right, so what? You're trying to go to these big corporations to get a job. They got a criteria that you don't fit. Why not go to the second-hand corporation? You might fit them perfectly, and build that up on your resume. You know, like, maybe you can't go for the gusto right now, but maybe one day you can, or even create your own. You know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, I'm looking at it like, yo, there's nothing. This man served 10 years for my neighborhood, 10 years for slicing somebody, comes out, and now he's a butcher. What a perfect fit.
Mm-hmm.
How you know what I mean? And so, I'm just saying, when you talk about turning negative situations positive, there's really no excuses except the ones we make in our head, because there's always a way, right? Like, there's always a way. You know what I mean? And a lot of the attributes of success is mentality, right? So if you always looking at yourself as a guilty victim, how do you think the rest of the world gonna see you? But if you see it like the brother seen it, like, yo, look, I had to. I mean, I ain't want to, but I had to. I'm pretty good at it, and that's what I'm gonna do forever now. You know what I'm saying? Like, whatever the mentality it is, to get you up out of that guilt, to get you up out of that shame on yourself. You know what I mean? You can't live with that. You can't live like that because you will never supersede the perspectives you have about yourself. If that's all you see yourself as, is what they see you as. If you only see yourself as what others see you as, then you always be in that box. That's a straight fact, bro. And so, yeah, man, I don't know, but to me, that's dope. I really salute the brother. You know what I mean, for turning that specific negative situation to a positive one for him. You know what I mean? Like, if you could do that, like, if he could do that, we could do anything. You know what I mean? Because we already know how the slave system is set up. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, man. So when they talk that SF 141, SF 181 form stuff, I'm looking at it like I don't want to hear about none of that because all of it is a box that they're trying to put you in. There's no box to check more. There's no box to check Moorish American. There's no box to check American. None of that. You know what I mean? And so we're going to be confined to not teaching nationality because it's not on a box to check on a job application, which in this point in time, they're not even asking you for that no more. They're not even asking you your race and nationality no more. If you're trying to work for hire, you know, they might ask you for a picture they could see for themselves, but it's almost irrelevant at this point. And so, you know what I mean? With these people making up nations and then calling Moors, you know, not right and exact because we didn't follow the form that they had or the format that they had, and we didn't check the box that they had typed up for us to check off. I don't rock with none of that. Like, like when I see that, I'm listening to the perspective of a slave. Right, to me, like, it's like you can't think outside of this box of Alaskan native, a Hawaiian native. Like, are you shitting me? Like, really? That's where we at. Like, that's where we at. So, or that's where they're at, because we're not there. You know what I'm saying? Never have been. So yeah, more. I appreciate you playing the brother Melanin, defending, you know, the truth in Harvey Bay Publications. However, those people who were slandering, as he pointed out, you know what I mean? These are slaves who are acting like freedom isn't real. Mm-hmm. What can you do with that? Because it's a mental slavery, right? So, and then it's the other thing. An unrebutted affidavit becomes the truth. No, it doesn't. It never. A lie is a lie is a lie, and will forever be that. As we're taught from the lessons that we learned by Noble Drew Ali, from Noble Drew Ali, the truth does not change nor pass away. So if you were speaking lies 5 years ago, you know what I mean, yesterday, 10 years ago, whatever it may have been, and you just make up whatever, it's still not the truth 5-10 years later. It's your perspective, fine. You think we capping and, you know, this doesn't work because you're coming from a slave perspective looking for acceptance. Free, you know what I mean? Like, if you're coming from a free mind, free man perspective, they have to accept that. They have to, accept that position or not. But if you're looking for a perspective like, excuse me, Master, I don't think I need to follow the regular format, this, that, and the third that you all provide. And they say, oh, no, yes, you do. And you say, oh, okay, all right, pardon me, I was misled. Like, you're not really mentally there. You don't need to be playing with this movement. You don't need to be playing around with this. You know what I mean? Because this is not optional. This is not precarious, right? Like, it's not a precarious thing. Linden versus First National Bank puts beyond dispute, right, the right to correct or change or utilize whatever so-called name you want, right? This is a landmark Supreme Court decision when it comes to name correction, when it comes to so-called name change. You don't have to get permission for it. Like, that is an actual common law right, birthright. Because if you don't own, like if you don't have absolute control or ownership in that sense of yourself, who else will then? So don't nobody question when KFC says, Kentucky Fried Chicken now says we're not Kentucky Fried Chicken, we're just KFC. All right, the people who like that food still gonna go there and get it. It's just the appellation, it's the name. But however, you know what I'm saying? Who could say that they can't do that? Like so when it comes to the natural people, the right is even more supreme, right? Because that's just corporate level stuff. So yeah, more. I mean, I didn't want to go too far on a tangent, but I felt like that needed to be said. And it definitely blended with the concept of the brother turning, a negative situation positive and not making excuses. He owned what his life situation was and made the best out of it for him. You know what I mean? And I think that that's where a lot of people are going wrong. They're looking for acceptance on something that they didn't even accept themselves yet. They think this is a silver bullet, and so that's really what it is.
Islam.
Real talk. Yeah, shout out Yusuf. Yeah, they don't call themselves Kentucky Fried no more, bro. They say KFC, bro. And that's what it is. And then they could what they say, misappropriate your culture and have Jack Harlow on the wrapper of a chicken sandwich talking about what's popping. European from Kentucky somewhere, right? Utilizing the European to promote the culture. And how do I know this? I was speaking with a brother and a sister from New York, and we was dying laughing about it. He was like, yeah, bro, I went to KFC. I got me a chicken sandwich. I opened it up, and it was Jack Harlow on the joint talking about what's popping. Like, nah, real talk. Real talk. European dude. What's cracking? What's popping? Where did that come from? Right? And so we see how they like siphon the culture and try to sell it back. And so I'm just saying that to say, like, listen, man, there is so many levels to us making a way for ourselves and it being outside, of the format that they put in front of you. If you just accept that as the standard, right? Like, then you always be in that box. You can't think outside of that box. You know what I'm saying? And so that's what we looking at. So when the brother Melanik was going in on these people, I really appreciated that because I didn't take them serious after I found out their discrepancy was SF-141, SF-181, and these are all employment check boxes, you know what I'm saying? And dude was working and living at the hotel and suing the hotel. So, I mean, and that's where that was the return address he wanted correspondence at. And so some of our people are mentally sick, mentally unstable. You know what I mean?
Before COVID.
What's that?
I said before COVID they were sick.
Yeah. Before COVID, bro. Before COVID. Right. And that's why when it hit, it was like, okay, now what? Let's see what's really good now. All y'all who had faith in all of this, right? Now let's see who's going to survive the prophecies being fulfilled because we already knew. You know what I'm saying? We already knew that, okay, one day the wheels of industry will stop. And when they start back up, they'll be in favor of the Asiatics. So we're not in those times now. Like, it happened. It happened. You know what I mean? And I'm seeing it. So, yeah. And that goes from brothers and sisters being quote-unquote employed or working for pecuniary compensation to brothers and sisters starting their own businesses and taking over businesses and things of that nature. So, I'm seeing like, yeah, the wheels stopped and they started back up, but they are kind of like in favor right now of the Asiatics. So certain places, they're not even testing you for cannabis no more, right? Brothers and sisters wasn't getting jobs because they smoked the purple heart-shaped herb. And, you know what I'm saying? That's shit, like it was essential to them pre-COVID, right? Now it has to be accepted. So there's a lot of changes being made on so many levels in the market. You know what I mean? And yeah, like today I'm riding around, got 420 events in the park, and you know, police out there, ain't nobody getting arrested for cannabis or weed or none of that. And I'm like, yo, this is a different world right now than what we known 5 years ago.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, yeah, let it unfold. Let it unfold. Let them smoke their weed, whatever. They ain't never been hurting nobody. And so, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, that's where it's at. And so I'm just loving the transition. Some people are not going to make the transition. Some people don't even understand that it's happened. Like, it's happening, but it happened already, right? And so they wasn't ready for the prophecies to be fulfilled. When this day would come, and all of these industries will be in the favor of us. And there's a lot more that has to unfold. Don't get me wrong. But I'm just saying, some people are going to stay stuck in pre-2019, pre-2020. They're not going to make the transition, bro. You know what I'm saying? And sad, but it's true. It's true. So yeah, more. I just wanted to say that from the rip, and I'm glad. I didn't even know you was gonna play that, but it blended so well because they talking all this about what they need to put on a job application. I also want to say this, because that is the premise of why they saying Harvey Bay wasn't right and exact because of this SF 141 or SF 181 form, this, that, and the third. Listen, also keep in mind, this is a jewel from Noble Dry Leaf, right? It is not finance that makes the man, because what do people work for? The finances. But it's not that makes the man. It's free national standards that make the man in the nation. So, simply said, man makes the money, money never makes the man. And when y'all think, you know what I mean, that your job is what identifies you, you are lost. You are a corporate slave, mentally. So you are who you are before you get the job. You know what I mean? And if you identifying yourself comes down to whatever boxes they have on the application, even though now that's antiquated, it ain't you're not filling out no application in none of that in person no more. Everything is online. That's done. It's over. You know what I'm saying? Like, unless you know somebody who runs an independent business, you're not walking nowhere right now and filling out a job application. It's impossible at this point in time. And so, you know, as we sit here in the transition, you know, I'm just looking at it like, you know, I wish everybody the best. You know what I'm saying? I wish everybody the best, and I trust that we be able to transition in these times. You know, the reason we were able to stay mentally fortified to a certain degree is because we had the warnings, the divine warnings, and the lessons of Noble Dry Leaf, right? Or the add-ons to our mentality from Noble Dry Leaf. So, yeah, more, I know I've been speaking for a minute.
Oh, you're good,
but
more.
at this point, okay, that. Yeah. So yeah, man, I don't know. I just can't relate, and that's on them, man. Like they can stay stuck in that energy. That's for them. It's not for us. But I will say that all people, contracts, leases, electric bills, phone bills, gas bills, or the whole thing with the nationality card. So it's not a myth. It's not a fluke. I don't care what the Southern Poverty Law Center says. I know Fox News just had to settle out of court because remember, you know, Southern Poverty Law Center, they say stuff because of a Supreme Court ruling that they were protected by, so they got to say a lot of stuff without any repercussions. However, all of those walls, those paper walls are coming down. buffoons just had to pay like 700-something million on their settlement because they were going to lose in court. It's not that, truth isn't everywhere, but these media outlets, they're losing the protection of just saying anything now. So that goes for, average people, big corporations, all of that. You know what I mean? Like, those walls are coming down too. I can't wait for the Southern Poverty Law Center to have to pay out big bucks or settle for the ill stuff they said, not just about Moors, but about many different people in society, many different organizations. They have had a certain protection, but they're losing that. All of them are losing it. And so, we living in the days and times now where it's changing. They can't just get away with saying anything and it not being true. Right? So they was hiding under the freedom of speech and, as media outlets, we could talk about this, that, and the third. No, you can't just say anything no more. You know what I mean? And so we're in those days and times where, like, we have to be accountable for what we say, right? Like, everybody, especially them, because they will say anything. But we already know, and this class is not about that, but anybody claiming Southern anything, especially Southern poverty, we know their roots are based in the Confederacy pre-Civil War. You know what I mean? And that's who's talking. That's who they are. They never really liked the North like that because of the difference in ideologies. And so, and in freedom, right? Like, and I don't want to go back over that. We went over that. Maybe we'll revisit that another time. But remember, Noble Drew Ali spoke about that too, about the North fighting the South, right? Like, this is not a new concept. So anything we hear from the South, as far as an institution that is speaking ill against freedom, or those who are trying to live free, we don't respect that no more. Y'all can believe that if y'all want. That's on y'all, but we're from the North. And so when we hear stuff like that from institutions like that, to us, it has no validity anyway. They already lost. Already. For those who don't know, they may believe that that's right and exact. But again, that goes back to a lack of knowledge. And so they got to deal with that if they believe that. You know what I'm saying? But we know. We already know what's up. We don't believe what's up. Like, we know for a fact that this is what that is. And so, while all those old institutions and ways of thinking and dealing with society are crumbling, we're loving every second of it. I know I am. I can speak for myself. I love to see it. You know what I mean? Because it's on autopilot at this point. All of that is coming down. All of it. And so it is what it is, man. It is what it is. There was something else about, and this is so important to why nationality is so important. And again, I'm not trying to speak on no aspect of Jada Pinkett being in an entanglement or any of that. But I'm not saying she's right, wrong, indifferent, any of that. I'm just saying in these days and times, it has come to the forefront, whatever the series is about the Cleopatra drink. Y'all, many of you may have heard about it. Like, there's some so-called Egyptians that are trying to sue because this is the first time I ever heard of this. It's the first time I ever heard of this. And again, why nationality is important, right? They're saying that Netflix, Jada Pinkett, and all of this is blackwashing Egyptian history because Cleopatra was not black. Listen, I know we not Negro, black, and color. I know that. We know that. Many more is on the line know that. But, like, there's somebody from these modern Egyptians, let's just put that in perspective, who are trying to say that Cleopatra was you know how deep this conversation could go, because we know that black and white again are statuses. A few years ago, I remember the situation with Mustafa Hesse, right?
Mm-hmm.
I know you remember that.
Yeah.
I know you remember that. This was a brother from Egypt who actually wanted to be called black, and the quote-unquote U.S. corporation said, no, you're white. But we also know that this is black and white are not descendants. They're not descendants. They're statuses, right? And so it gets real tricky with this conversation of where they coming from with this. Are they saying, you know, she wasn't dark-skinned? Or are they saying she was a pale-skinned nation of Europe? Like, because we know, like, in law, black and white are not nationalities. These are not national descent names. These are statuses. But I think here the issue is they are upset with the depiction, meaning how, quote-unquote, Cleopatra looks as a quote-unquote black woman. I don't know what their specific discrepancy is. Is it something that was said in the documentary or in the series, or is it just how this woman looks playing Cleopatra? However, we already know, thanks to J.A. Rogers, and I'm not talking about, because a lot of times they'll point to J.A. Rogers' book called The World's Great People of Color, and say that that's where this concept of Cleopatra being quote-unquote black, quote-unquote, in modern terms, you know, black comes from. But that is not the case. He put to rest in the Sex and Race book the aspect of Cleopatra being a Moor. And when it comes to Moor's heritage and history, we know that, yes, Cleopatra was definitely a Moor. However, she did amalgamate with European. Like, she had European counterparts. Mark Antony, Julius Caesar, and all of that. Like, she was working with Rome, but she wasn't necessarily a Roman. So they're saying, oh no, you can't depict her as quote-unquote dark-skinned because she was a European. No, just because she had European mates never changed her nationality. She may have had an allegiance somehow, you know, running Rome and all of that. Then they'll say, well, no, she was a Macedonian Greek. Well, this is why we got to know the history. Like, the original Greeks, the ancient Greeks, when they talk about Greeks and then they talk about ancient Greece, the ancient Greece were Moors. Remember, it was a Moabite that established the Greek alphabet, right? Like, Greek is not European. Like, it is in fact Moorish. Like, that is a fact. So I felt like it was pretty interesting that they're actually trying to sue based off of how this woman is being depicted, how Cleopatra is being depicted in a Netflix series. And they're accusing them of quote-unquote blackwashing, Cujo. I don't know where to start with that, bro. Like, the first thing that comes to mind to me is Mustafa Hesse. Like, are we talking about the etymology, or are we talking about the appearance? Because we already know, there is no doubt about it, that, you know, Egyptians and Moors are the same people, very dark, melanated, etc. You know what I mean? And I don't know. What's your thoughts on that, boy? Like,
Well,
this is in so-called 2023 about a series, you know what I'm saying, that has a Moorish woman, which her herself is amalgamated, you know, playing this role. But I guess she's too dark-skinned to play Cleopatra to these so-called Egyptians of today.
Yeah.
What does that say about where we at in the world, bro? What you think about that?
Well, I think that when I look at this, it reminds me of when a few years back when the Moroccans were talking about Moors not being Moors because Moors are pale, Moors aren't black or whatever. Same idea that, you know, a lot of these people who are late to the historical timeline that have nothing are basically trying to claim whatever they can claim. And because of the incompetence of our people, it makes the claim a lot easier for them, right? When we could also look at it with the KKK outfit, and everybody thinking that that's some KKK thing or whatever like that, without doing the research to know that there's a foundation to this. Same thing with this, like you're saying, if they would just go look at J.A. Rogers, it's evident that the European perspective, the European psychology of history has been absolutely corrupted, and they're pushing that corruption. Right? We were talking about on one of the lives earlier that all this corruption could happen because of the corruption that our people been doing for the past 100 years, playing Negro black colored games. Now they're complaining about, you know, things happening to them as if, you know, our ignorance isn't what's causing a lot of this stuff to be going on, right? Because they already know they're gonna put this out, and the game is gonna continue. The black-white game is gonna continue. The Mustafa Hefni thing. Everybody knows that anybody from anywhere over there, especially Northern Africa, they're classified as white. They know that there. They know that. So and knowing that you know, those things are statuses, not complexion or whatever. They know what's up. This is some game to keep our people in this black-white thing that's supposed to have been done since Drew Ali said we're not Negro black colored, right? We should have been eliminated from being having these conversations about our skin tone being quote unquote black. That's a dead argument. That's been a dead argument. It's only still going around because of our people keeping that BS going. So when the quote unquote Egyptians complain over Netflix depiction of Cleopatra as white, it's real interesting that they didn't call themselves white. They said Egyptians. You know, they didn't. You know what? Why didn't they? Egyptians complain over Netflix depiction of Cleopatra being Egyptian. How come they're not complaining about that? Because if you talk Egyptian, then obviously you're talking about Greeks. Obviously you're talking about, you know, some modern perspective. But one of the Moors sent me this. Let me just put this thing up. One of the Moors sent me this, and it's real interesting. Since we're talking about Greeks, let me put this thing up. Since we're talking about Greeks, now he was having a conversation with somebody that's Greek that was at this parade. Peace to brother Kasir. He was having a conversation with somebody at this parade, or he was out there or something like that, and this parade was happening or something. And they were telling him, don't call this Greek, because we're not Greek. Greek is a new term. But while he's out there, all these quote unquote Greeks, they're out there with fezzes on, tassels and all that stuff, dressed in their traditional wear, doing what? Being themselves. Now, if the pale looking Greeks are gonna put fezzes on with tassels when they're doing their little parade stuff or whatever, so the world could see. When they're on their own, eating their little Slovakian and whatever like that, they ain't got no fezzes on and tassels down to their waistband. They just look like normal people. But when festival time comes around, when they're celebrating their Independence Day and all that stuff, here they come in all their regalia. And then when you check them in their regalia, they look like Moors. They're dressing like Moors. Then obviously they know what's going on. Obviously they know the culture, right? Obviously these people know that the ancient Egyptians, just go look at the hieroglyphs. You don't need to go read some books or anything like that. Just pull up hieroglyphs and you'll see what the people during that time look like that they say are quote unquote Egyptian. Right? The top archaeologists insist Cleopatra was light skinned, not black. Right? This is the archaeologists saying that her heritage is highly debated. If you don't like the casting, don't watch the show, said the producer. So obviously, producer.
Not to cut you
Oh,
off,
go ahead.
the article, right? But above that, it says, no, go down just a little bit. It says a lawyer has filed a complaint that accuses African Queen Cleopatra of violating media laws and aiming to erase the Egyptian identity, bro. That part.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is a lawsuit.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, this is a lawsuit right now. You know what I'm saying? And Jada Pinkett is somehow involved in it and all that. But yes, and shout out to the emphasis on casting, as said in the chat. You know what I mean? But that part. So I'm just saying, before we go into the article, if we doing that, because they're gonna lose bad. They're gonna lose bad. Maybe not, depending on what if it's based on imagery or if it's based on etymology. This could be the determining factor. But either way, we know that if they doing that, we can do this about Yahshua, because remember, Cleopatra existed and passed before, they started talking this Jesus thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if they trying to do that, we could do that about Yahshua. We could do that about the fact that they're claiming to be American and they are not. You know what I'm saying? Like Europeans claiming to be American and they are not. This is a big door that's just being opened for either way this go. You know what I mean? And so I just want to emphasize before you finish reading that the fact that this is an issue in court. This is not just like some social...
some opinion, yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, like they are in court about this. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it, because this is what we've been saying.
And think about this too, that so it goes to court, and let's say it goes against them, that no, they're wrong. Then does that mean Cleopatra's black? Which takes this thing to a whole nother place with it. You know what I mean? If it doesn't go the side of, well, we're not talking etymology, we're talking skin complexion, but then there's no real black skin complexion. Like, this stuff could go sideways in so many different ways if they go with the well, she's black narrative, opposed to she's light skinned or she's fair skinned or whatever the case is, because the suit them winning the suit, well, okay, yeah, she's not black, that might be the win. that she's actually not black. She's swarthy, she's tawny, she's dark skinned, she's everything except black. If it goes the way that it's supposed to go. But then if it goes that way and they start talking about, well, she's not black, so that means we could make pictures of her being European. Well, no, that's not really the way that it's supposed to go either. If she's not black, and then on the other side, this could just be just yet another distraction to have the Negroes, especially if Jada Pinkett's in there or whatever like that, got something to say, have the Negroes distracted once again, because they already know these niggers' attention span is not there. You throw out anything and they're going to be so lost that they'll be talking about this Cleopatra black stuff for forever, but they ain't talking about gods of Egypt that were all Europeans, and they're not talking about Sparta and all that stuff with all them Europeans in there, and they're not talking about they're still not addressing shoot the nose off the Sphinx and all that stuff, which is Egyptian. Why they do that? Did they do that to make the Sphinx look like white, or were they trying to hide something? Why they shot the nose off and all that stuff? Why they go that far? Why they go to Iraq and tear down all the stuff over there? Isn't that the same quote unquote blackwashing that they're complaining about? But
that's what I'm saying. Like, with everything going on in the world, and that has went on and it's going on, one thing that has to come back to is actual factual identity. Like, it has to. Like, cannabis is being legalized everywhere. Okay, it's about to be a thing of the past that, all right, ain't nothing wrong with having, you know what I mean, some purple heart-shaped herbs on you, what kind of balance. But this issue of identity, it has to be, like, legally, literally, in these days and times, even though we already know it's a done deal, like, it has to be refreshingly, you know what I mean, put to rest forever. You know what I'm saying? Like, in these days and times, so that we could get past this. You know what I'm saying? And again, I feel it's a matter of, are they speaking of imagery or etymology? Right? Because either way, we know black is wrong. Right? Like, and not that is wrong, don't get me wrong. But I mean, like, these are brown-skinned people. Right, so we could just off of that alone, we know black is an illusion of an identity. We know that, right? On the other hand, we know that white is also an illusion, and it doesn't apply to the European. All of this has to be put to rest forever in these days and times. And we already know this. We're not confused about this, right? But for the masses, for the general populace, the people who are concerned with this, like, this might be a part of it coming to a complete end, or maybe not. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But we already know, like, and so in this being the issue, I feel like even when we look at the Negro laws of the Carolinas, when they were talking about the distinguishment between Moors, Asiatic Lascars, Egyptians being distinguished from the Negro black color, right, as far as status goes, as far as being slave brands, right, black being a slave brand, and the nationality being Moors, Egyptians, Asiatic Lascars, you know what I mean? This might be a refresher just for the record, but we already know. You, I, and most Moors on the line right now already know that this color code game has been a fraud. It is a fraud and has been a fraud. days and times, I think it's just a matter of, okay, this topic has to be beyond a reasonable doubt refreshed and put beyond dispute. And that's why I was saying the part of it being an actual lawsuit, you know what I'm saying? Somebody needs to DM Will Smith and Jada Pinkett and all them and Netflix and all that. And like, yo, let's talk about it. You know what I mean? Like, let's talk about it. So, yeah, but it gets real tricky again because we already know the etymology of black actually means pale. So how many different arguments could be made in this conversation? It's like a labyrinth in the matrix, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's really, it's a lot to unravel.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would say that, you know, let's not let this just slip under the radar. Like, it's not a big deal. You know what I mean? Like, it's a big deal. Like Netflix being sued over Egyptian imagery and queens and who's black and who's white and Mustafa Hefni and the Negro laws of the Carolinas. Like, all of this has to be a part of the topic or the subject matter, whichever way it go. You know, and I mean, that's just my point of view. I could be wrong, but I felt like it's a lot more interesting because it's not just a social perspective that somebody tweeted on Twitter or Instagram or YouTube. Like, they're actually trying to make this a legal matter. And we know in the eyes of the law, black and Negro and white as well are not nationalities. You know what I mean? And so this is where it gets interesting. Also, I want to say, when you was mentioning the Greeks, I recall, and again, I will forever give acknowledgement to the Moors who have had certain standards of going out and learning and seeing certain stuff for ourselves. And a special thanks to Set and Ra for organizing the trip to the Library of Congress back in 2018. You know, I recall seeing on the walls, right, like they had like these little angels that had obvious tint of brown to them.
Yeah.
And they were like surrounding these certain appellations, and Sappho being one of them. Now, this is the thing. We know when we're talking about the Library of Congress and architecture, we're talking about classical literature, right, what people consider world classics, especially to the Europeans today. Sappho was definitely is in the halls of learning and classical literature, but thank God for J.A. Rogers for doing the further research, because Sappho was a Moor. These Europeans tried to attribute Sappho with being a lesbian, but she never really was a lesbian. But she was acknowledged in the halls of classical poetry, and specifically Greek poetry, going back to the concept of the Greeks, the ancient Greeks actually being Moors. They attributed, you know, and when I say they, the modern Europeans attributed their culture to the Moors in every facet of life, of every facet of what they're into. But that doesn't mean that the Moors were actually into that. Like Sappho, yeah, she was a Moor. She proclaimed that, said she was, and as J.A. Rogers said, no, there was no evidence of her being a lesbian, but the Europeans attribute her being a lesbian in Greek culture, but she never was really that. So, you know what I mean? So when we run with their narratives and their spinning narratives, right, they'll talk to you like Sappho is some European Greek poet when she was really a Moor. And then they also attribute her with the LGBTQ whatever, and she was never that. You know what I'm saying? It's like, yo, there's so much to unpack. There's a lot to unpack when it comes to Moors. And so-called European culture, what they call Greek. You know what I'm saying? So when they saying, oh, Cleopatra, she wasn't dark-skinned, she was a Macedonian Greek. Well, what does that mean? Because we know that Greeks, the original Greeks, are not European. They're not the pale-skinned nations of Europe. The original Greeks are Moabites. That is a fact. That is an undisputed fact. Like, and even you could read this in Masonic literature. You could read this in J. Rogers literature, right? Like Cadmus, the Moabite, was the one, and J. Rogers would say Cadmus was a Phoenician who established the Greek alphabet. In Masonic literature, they'll say Cadmus was a Moabite who established the Greek alphabet. But we already know these are the same people. These are the melanated aboriginal indigenous people of the planet. Some people confine that just to Africa, but we already know. Like, if the argument is, oh no, Cleopatra was a Greek, she wasn't an Egyptian, she wasn't dark-skinned, she was light-skinned, whatever. We already know that Moors, and people don't really comprehend when we say, like, Moors are the mothers and fathers of civilization all over the globe. This is the key, right? And when we say all over the globe, literally everywhere, including Greece, including France, including Spain, including England, or so-called England, you know what I mean? The British Isles, whatever. Like, historically, Moors are the ones who founded those civilizations. And emphasis on civilizations, not the savagery. Because savagery isn't civilized. So when we're talking about civilizations, right? Moors did that. They don't want to tell it like that, but it is the truth. And so I'm just saying that to say, like, if we could see that Sappho was a Moorish woman from, quote, Greece, like they hail her for being a fire poet in her days and times. But we see the Europeans put the spin on, oh, she was a lesbian because she was living on the island of Lesbos or something of that nature. That's not true. You know what I'm saying? Like, that is not true. I'm rocking with J.A. Rogers. I don't care what nobody said. You know what I'm saying? Like, he already exposed the stuff. She was not none of that. They said that, but there's no evidence. And so, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, Moors founded all of these societies, all of these cultures. So whether they argue, was Cleopatra a Greek or was she a Egyptian or any of that, we know if we talking ancient, all of that is Moorish, period. And we don't get confused about that because that's what the history reflects. You know what I mean? So, again, the issue is these color codes of black, white, all of that. That's where it gets tricky. That's where it gets tricky. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, more like, I don't know, man. Like, I just feel like there's a can of worms to be open with this. I don't know what they're going to do about it. But shit, Netflix, holla at Moors. We could put together a series. You know what I'm saying? A documentary on YouTube about Egyptian. And somebody at Netflix at this. So, you know what I mean? Like, we could do it. We got it. You know what I mean?
They let Moors getting that. They're not gonna hear that shit. They'll be like, hell no.
Yeah.
We're not letting y'all get up in there with your facts. No way. But it's like what you're saying. It's all about the color code. Yeah.
If they try to beat this lawsuit, holla at us. You know what I'm saying?
Straight.
DM came in there more. We do use 29 or something. You know what I mean?
Straight.
I'm just saying, and any other more that know, that really, really know. You know what I mean? Like, this is a no-brainer for us, you know, but for others, maybe not so much. You know what I mean? But
and maybe not so much. Maybe not so much, just for the simple fact that you know they know where our people are at. So you know they have the puppet on the strings when they start playing this black and white stuff. You know, is somebody black? Is somebody white? You know, well, that's not how they were depicted, and whatever. It's common knowledge that Africa, so called, is a dark continent. That's not a pale spot. So even if you're talking about intermixing and whatever like that, ain't nobody, you know, like a pale when they're talking about intermixing, because the dominant gene is always going to be dominant. That's just what it is. It's not, you know, the recessive gene is always going to be recessive. So when the recessives realize that you know, even when they intermix, they're going to be dark still, it's going to be an issue for some people. Some people can't handle the truth. You know, they can't deal with the reality of, you know, of the science that, you know, a boy is a boy and a girl is a girl, and you're not going to be telling me about, you know, you're a girl when you're a boy because you feel like it or something like that. You know, and it goes back into the thing of, you know, the mental health being at an all-time high. People have serious mental issues right now because of this same Negro, black, colored, white BS that they put in their minds for so long. And not only them putting it in their minds, but other people like these Egyptians and whatever putting it in their mind. These so-called black leaders putting it in their mind that there's an actual thing called a trans. There's an actual man that can get pregnant and have a period, and that's a reality. You know, we have to respect the rights of them to be able to, you know, have their dick out in the female washroom and everything. Everybody should be cool with it. You know, well, you know, the trans man, the trans woman, you know, got hit in the testicles, and that's violating them and all this BS. It's the same Negro, black, colored stuff. It's the same stuff. They're just putting different tags on it, but it's the same. It's the same mental illness. There's no way that some Greeks, Irish, you know, Scandinavian, whatever, are talking about they're white people. It doesn't happen like that. This weird stuff only happens in North America. It doesn't happen in the world. The world doesn't have as much mental illness as North America has. And all this is to keep the people in the state of mental inferiority. Once they start embracing it, once they start going with it, look at, if we go again to Mustafa Hefni. He lost. He didn't win his case or whatever. They told him, get the F out of here. You're white. You don't care what you say. And we don't care how many black groups you go lecture for and try to convince them that, you know, the U.S is violating me because, you know, the ancient Egyptians were black and the Ethiopians were black and the Sumerians were black and all these people are black, and you got to accept that I'm a black man and I need respect and all that. Get the hell out of here. That's a fiction. But you know, they didn't expect him to go that far, like what Grand Sheik Nature El Bey was saying with regard to that they didn't expect him to fight it. You know, they thought they're going to say whatever they say and then sweep the stuff under the rug. But it didn't go like that. He was actually going around lecturing about this thing all over the place that about this issue of him being classified as white when he wants to be black. And then now you have Egyptians now saying that, well, and keep in mind that Mustafa Hefni was a dark-skinned Egyptian. He wasn't a pale one, and he wanted to be black. And then the pale Egyptians are saying that they don't want to be black, and Cleopatra shouldn't be depicted as black. Just think how the sorcery is really at work with this thing. Once you start playing those color code things, it's almost like that's the color code thing is the magic dust or whatever, the fairy dust to make you lose your shit. But as soon as you start going there, then everything else starts getting messed up. As soon as you get into the black-white thing, then all this other stuff starts getting messed up. All these different perspectives are now really wrong, you know. But again, that's only for the ones who know, the ones who've been studying, the ones who, you know, got dictionaries, look stuff up or whatever like that. You realize that something's wrong when you start identifying people by skin tone. Something's really wrong with this concept of identifying people with skin tones, you know. But you know,
and the first thing is majority of the people that they're identifying by skin tones. Like if we was to look at the actual colors, right? Like the color code, like it's off anyway. Like because brown skinned people are brown skin, they're not black.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's the first thing. Majority of the people are not even that skin complexion. But that's the claim based off of appearance. And that's why it's like, damn, yo, like the magic, the illusionary aspect of all of this is also like, you gotta really look at that. Like, how could somebody blatantly brown skin claim that or believe that they're black? Like, first off, kindergartners know the difference, right? Like, first graders, second graders, they can clearly point out this difference. And so, then when we look at the pale skin nations of Europe, they're also obviously not white. Mm-hmm. So, where did this social construct come from? Where did this lead? Like, and it's even beyond a social construct. It has legal ramifications. And that's the ill part about it all, is that these are legal concepts. So while he, like you say, while Mustafa Hefni is trying to say in one vein he's black, meaning he's the same people who think they black, right? Legally, they know that he's not. And so this is an issue, especially with people who migrate here to North America. They already know his nationality. Yeah. And so it's a major issue. The thing is to keep the Aboriginal indigenous people that was born in America in the color code game.
Exactly.
So some wild way, Jada Pinkett is connected to this, right? Like that's why, because it's something that has to be reviewed and looked at from or connect to the people here in America, right? And so, you know, again, like you say, Mustafa Hefni, he was coming from Egypt. We know that white is not, it does not mean, you know, the European race or Caucasian race. It is a status. It is a status of nobility. It does not mean the skin complexion, right? And black is the opposite. It's not that we don't love our people who think they're that. It's just legally, like, it really means something. It means something totally opposite from what our people think it means. And so that is the issue. That is what has to be really highlighted. Like, it's a fraud all the way around. So, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, there's so many ramifications to it, bro.
Oh, and
you already know, but like you said.
And it's right here. Jada Pinkett Smith, the American actress, who was executive producer and narrator, was meanwhile quoted as saying, "We don't often get to see or hear stories about Black queens, and that was really important for me, as well as for my daughter, and just for my community to be able to know those stories because there are tons of them." But then Will Smith, her husband's going to be in Wild Wild West, and they're going to call him Blackamore or whatever. And then she's going to come talking about Black queens and all this stuff. Why don't you say Blackamore queens? Why don't she go there as if she doesn't know or something? You know? So yeah, she's the executive producer, right? Entanglement lady is the executive producer, right? And then the entanglement lady is talking about Black queens, and queen is prostitute or whatever like that, and she's entangled with some other stuff, and it's just real weird when you start, you know, looking into these things further. You know, that the depiction of Cleopatra has people mad that they're gonna go sue. They're gonna go file a complaint, whatever it is that they're gonna do, because somebody who, and then which is weird too, because the mother who's playing Cleopatra, she's mixed, which should make her the perfect individual, since during that time, Ptolemy and all that stuff, you're talking about mixed Egypt. It's not like they got some. It's not like they got some full blown, you know, Asiatic or something like that. You got somebody mixed to play the part, and then you're still complaining. Something else must be going on here, because you can't be complaining still, right? And I know that they went and got her for this exact same reason. Oh, well, you know what? If we use somebody too dark, then, you know, they might say something. So let's use somebody mixed so they can't say anything, and they're still saying something. They still got a problem, right?
Yeah, and the other part to that, more, check this out. This is, you know, it's slick on the science, because when they say Cleopatra, like, we got to first and foremost comprehend or even understand or ask ourselves, how many Cleopatras were there?
Mm-hmm.
Because on the science, there were 7 Cleopatras. If they're talking about the last one, she may have been, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, amalgamated to a degree of being light skin. Because when they say fair skin, I don't like that.
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, it's fair skin, it's light skin. What you saying? Brown skin is unfair?
Yeah.
Like, so what? You know what I'm saying? Like, so if we're talking about, are we talking about the first Cleopatra?
Right.
The second, third, fourth, fifth,
Yeah.
sixth, or the seventh? You know what I'm saying? Like, what Cleopatra are you talking about? Maybe the last one was a little bit like, you know what I mean? Maybe so.
Right.
You know what I mean? But the first, I highly doubt it. I highly doubt it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Definitely.
yeah. So, but which one are we talking about? Like, we can't just say Cleopatra like it was 7 of them at least, right? And it goes back to the fact that, you know, in these days and times, you know, they like brothers have sons, and then there's juniors, and then there's the third, and then there's the fourth. For those who watch sports, we know Robert Griffin, quote unquote, even though that may be a slave name, you know what I'm saying? When he played for the so-called Washington Redskins, he was RG3. Why? Because he was Robert Griffin III.
Right.
So there was 2, quote unquote, Robert Griffins before him.
Mm-hmm.
He was the third. You know what I'm saying? So when you talk about 7 Cleopatras, you know what I mean? Like, what are you talking about? The last one is the one that had relationships with Europeans.
Right.
Not the first. Cleopatra the seventh. The seventh, bro.
Yeah, the seventh.
The seventh.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that.
You know what I'm
The
saying?
seventh.
Like, with a divinity.
Yeah.
The seventh Cleopatra is the one that had relations with Julius Caesar, Mark Antony, and all of this. So the question becomes, what Cleopatra are you talking about? Or are they talking about? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And let's not miss that part either. You know what I mean? Like, so it's a lot. It's a lot to think about or ask questions about when this conversation comes up. Was Cleopatra light skin, dark skin, black, white? You know what I'm saying? Greek, Moors, whatever. Which one are you talking about? And this is how they lose us in history as well, because we're not considering like, yo, you know what I mean? These names were passed down to many different noble women. And so, you know, if you're talking about the latest version, maybe the seventh was. Let's say the seventh was, you know, European. All right, where'd she come from?
Yeah.
Was the seventh Cleopatra or Meghan Markle? Is that what y'all saying? Because at the end of the day, her mom was still a Moor. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
at the end and beginning of the day, mother was still a Moor.
Mm-hmm.
So what are we talking about?
Yeah. And then one of the Moors asked in the chat too, what if Cleopatra is just a title and that's not even a name? It brings in a whole new element to the whole thing. It was Cleopatra the name of those seven people, or was that just something thrown on them and they actually had a different name?
Maybe so. That's what I'm saying. The conversation gets deep. This is what I'm saying. There's a lot to investigate. Like, if we talking about seven Cleopatras and there was seven so-called, I'm not going to say black, but let's say seven Moorish presidents before George Washington. Like, what so-called allegedly black president are you talking about? Like, what alleged, you know what I mean? Like, this is where it gets interesting. You know what I mean? Like, is it an individual appellation, or is it, you know, a title of nobility that was passed down to certain women? Because, yeah, all right, you know, if this is a Meghan Markle situation, and the latest one, you know, was light skin or whatever, that don't mean amongst the Europeans they seen her like that, right? Remember, the so-called royal family in these modern days, Queen Elizabeth II and all that, they were wondering, oh my gosh, what color is the baby going to be when Harry and Meghan have the, you know what I mean? When she produces the baby, what genetics is going to show up?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. But so, I mean, there's a lot to factor in, and I would say that like we shouldn't just overlook all of that. The fact that there's not like there was just one Cleopatra, there was seven. So are they talking about Cleopatra the seventh, Cleopatra the first? Which one are we talking about? You know what I mean? Like, let's establish that first and foremost. I would say either way, you know, being as though black and white are not actual identities, but statuses, right? Like, we could say that, like, no matter how far you go back, none of them were either one of those, right? Like, they had nationalities. You know what I mean? But nonetheless, you know, we know from a legal, lawful perspective that white does not mean Caucasian race. Black does not mean African. Black does not mean American. Black does not mean indigenous. You know what I'm saying? Like, these things have etymological roots. To whereas if they are speaking about, and this is why it's so crazy, boy, that if she was light skinned, she really was black.
Yeah.
Because etymologically means pale, like everything been reversed. And I know we sound crazy to those who haven't done the research.
Yeah, I was just thinking how crazy it sounds right now.
This is what I'm saying, like, it's so crazy when it comes to these subjects, bro. Like, and we be looking like we crazy, but that's only because the people who don't know that didn't do the research.
Yeah.
Like, it's so easy to look at the etymology of black. It's not difficult. But to somebody who hasn't done that and all they know is their understanding of how it's been socially utilized in their life and how they accepted it, we're crazy. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
But when it comes down to what's printed in black and white, quote unquote, no pun intended, you know, it is what it is. Like, it's historically, you know, these things don't identify brown skin or pale skin people.
Yeah.
These are statuses.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Bottom line.
Yeah. So that's my main question is, what Cleopatra are they talking about? Is it the first or the seventh? You know what I mean? Like, or any one of them in between?
Yeah.
That's the real question. You know what I mean?
And then think about this too. Think about this as well. That if they are talking about the seventh and they win, does that apply to all the Cleopatras after, or just that one?
Right. That's another perspective.
Right?
Are they
Because
gonna
the same
walk
way,
away saying,
yeah. Because the same way that they're saying blackwash, you know, we could go counterclaim with whitewash. Well, no, you guys are actually trying to whitewash the history.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Or let's say pale wash the history, because just so we don't get the confused people more confused. You pale wash? Are they trying to pale wash the history? Going through with this because they already know that, hey, well, if we use the seventh one, we'll definitely win because the seventh one's actually pale, and then we can, you know, have, you know, and then after that, then they come out with Netflix, you know, series, Cleopatra series, and then now they got Cleopatra the First as a modern European.
Right.
Because they won their suit or whatever.
And that's
shit is crazy.
That's the scary part, is they're not saying what Cleopatra they're talking about.
Yeah.
The first or the seventh is so general. You know what I mean? Like, it's so big. Like, it's like saying, oh yeah, the king is white. The prince is black. Like,
Yeah.
what prince and what king? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, what queen? Who are you talking about?
Right.
You know what I mean? And so, yeah, or the president is black. The president is white. What president are you talking about? What Cleopatra?
Exactly.
That's all I want to know. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Yeah, like straight up from the like, we need to know that part.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's actually key. I think that's the key to the whole game. Which Cleopatra are you people talking about? And then see what their response is. Because if they come out, well, what do you mean, which Cleopatra? There's only one Cleopatra, then we know that they're playing.
Exactly.
We know that they're playing. Or does it, well, we mean all of them. No, you sure? You sure you mean all of them? Because I don't think Cleopatra 1 to 6 was pale. I don't think so. I don't think so. Cleopatra must have a thing too. She should be in the hieroglyphs too. If they got everybody else in there, why don't you just look her up on the hieroglyphs and see what she looks like?
Yeah,
You know.
Put the feds on. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, more. I'm just saying we living in some crazy times, and these are definitely subject matters that Moors need. I mean, not need to, but do know about and ought to be talking about in whatever degree. You know what I mean? Like, listen, don't let them just bring up this subject generally like that, because it's very specific. You know what I mean? Like, it's Meghan. What is Meghan Markle? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, who is she? Is she who Mama is? Or are we gonna consider her amalgamated? Like, what are we doing there? You know what I'm saying? Like, she was brushing shoulders with royalty, alleged royalty, and alleged nobles, right? Who jacked a society in order from Moors. Let's keep that 100. That yes, they did. That whole order and structure that came from Moors, right? So they're running with that. But who is Meghan Markle in that? Like, is she who her mom is? Is she who her dad is? Is she who both of them is? Like, are we? So now we're looking at Cleopatra saying, "Oh no, she wasn't this, she was that," and it's like, well, was she both of them? Like, and what again? Which one? Which one? Because I highly doubt that the first had any pale skinned nation of Europe anything going on with her. Maybe by the time the 6th, 7th rolled around, you know what I mean? They was dabbling with other options, but nah, I can't see that.
Yeah. And as well, to keep in mind too that it's all along the theme of tonight of, you know, taking a negative and making it a positive. You know, we can look at this as libel, as slander. They're trying to diss Cleopatra or whatever like that, and we took what they presented and we made something good out of it, made a lesson out of it. You know, so there could be some different perspectives, because, you know, the average individual, they read that, they start going off their emotions and get further in the hole, because they're feeding into this negativity, you know, trying to push some fictitious claim on our foremothers and forefathers that doesn't even reside with them, you know.
Right. Yeah. Super facts. You know, and yeah, I didn't think of it in that form, but, you know, I knew we was probably going to keep it brief tonight instead of going the whole 3 hours.
Yeah.
But I definitely, you know, one of the things, and just to bring it back full circle, because we are approaching the last hour. So for anybody who didn't call in yet, you know, at this point, you won't be able to call in. A few people just popped in. I don't know if they want to add on or listen to the last hour. But yeah, that, as far as turning negatives to positives, you know, I think that's one of the dopest things that happened with the brother I was mentioning about, you know, serving some time for slicing somebody.
Yeah.
And then, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a real one.
Now he has a career being a butcher, opposed to sitting here wallowing and mopping and, oh, I can't get a job. I can't do this, that, and the third. Like, to me, that's like a real dope aspect of turning something negative, or they don't want to hire you here, there, and there. But yo, listen, the same thing they trying to stigmatize you for, you could turn that into a positive. So yeah, all right, they know, they look up your record and you stabbed and sliced people and all this. Now you making money off of being a butcher, cutting salmon, cutting cheese, cutting whatever it is at the grocery store. Like that's your lane. You know what I'm saying? And just owning that. Like I don't know, man. That's so dope to me, bro. Like, and again, I'm not trying to condone or promote violence, but as far as turning the negative to a positive, man, I don't know a better example. I mean, there are maybe, but like I'm talking about personally, somebody who I know that from that to that, you know what I mean, and doing something, being able to make some sort of daily bread without the stigma of, you know, their past, you know what I'm saying, being in the way.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, and again, that came from a brother complaining about how no jobs were hired him, this, that, and the third, and I'm like, nah, bro, whatever your negative is, you can turn that joint positive.
Yeah.
I already know that. Because there's people who've done it, doing it, and whatnot. So, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, you may have got caught with some cannabis on you, but look, it's being legalized. Even if you got to go to another place, be accepted, whatever it is. Do what you got to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't, you know what I mean? Like, don't squander the rest of your life because somebody isn't accepting you for their job. Like, you can make it happen.
Right.
And I just thought that was so dope, bro. Yeah,
Sure.
I didn't mean to, you know, dwell on that too much.
Oh, it's all good.
Yeah, even with the, like you said, even with the Cleopatra, you know what I mean? Like, how it is a negative in certain aspects, the conversation, you know, becomes a positive when we really consider it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, first off, let's just identify, before we even go off all the way in, like, what Cleopatra?
Yeah.
That's where it needs to really be at. What Cleopatra? You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, more with that being said, we only have a few callers, but none with their hand up at the time. Is there anything you want to, you know what I mean, go in on? We on the last hour.
Yeah, just
for those who didn't call in already.
Yeah, just a quick reaffirmation of what we've been talking about with some positivity quotes about life, so we can, you know, keep that vibe going, especially since we're going into Holy Day and all that. Right, so some positivity quotes about life. When you think positive, good things happen. A positive attitude causes a chain of reaction of positive thoughts, events, and outcomes. It is a catalyst, and it sparks extraordinary results. I truly believe in positive synergy, that your positive mindset gives you a more hopeful outlook, and belief that you can do something great means you will do something great. Life is tough, and things don't always work out well, but we should be brave and go on with our lives. Stay positive and happy, work hard, and don't give up. Be open to criticism and keep learning. Surround yourself with happy, warm, genuine people. Sometimes we're tested, not to show our weaknesses, but to discover our strengths. If you see the world and yourself through a lens smudged by negativity, then you'll find much misery. If you look outwards and inwards through a lens brightened by positivity, you'll find much to be happy and appreciative about. It's amazing. Life changes very quickly, in a very positive way, if you let it. Don't be pushed around by fears in your mind. Be led by dreams in your heart. Don't forget to tell yourself positive things daily. You must love yourself internally to grow externally. Be fanatically positive and militantly optimistic. If something is not your liking, change your liking. Be not afraid of life. Believe that life is worth living, and your belief will help create the fact. It is by going down to the abyss that we recover the treasures of life. Where you stumble, there lies your treasure. If you have a positive attitude and constantly strive to give your best effort, eventually you will overcome your immediate problems and find you are ready for great challenges. The less you respond to negative people, the more positive your life will become. It doesn't matter what cards you're dealt. It's what you do with those cards. Never complain. Just keep pushing forward. Find a positive in anything and just fight for it. Everything you've ever wanted is on the other side of fear. Deep down in your heart, you're destined to do great things. You can't change how people treat you or what they say about you. All you can do is change how you react to it. There will be little rubs and disappointments everywhere, and we are all apt to expect too much. But then, if one scheme of happiness fails, human nature turns to another. If the first calculation is wrong, we make a second better. We find comfort somewhere. One small positive thought can change your whole day. The harder you work for something, the greater you'll feel when you achieve it. Challenges are what make life interesting, and overcoming them is what makes life meaningful. The world you desire can be. It exists. It is real. It is positive. It is yours. Optimism is a happiness magnet. If you stay positive, good things and good people will be drawn to you. Always turn a negative situation into a positive situation. Islam.
Islam, that's peace, bro. And on the note of positivity, I'm gonna leave off with page 26, or from page 26 to 27 of Napoleon Hill's Keys to Success. The 17 principles of personal achievement. And I want to emphasize personal achievement. All right, and on page 26, he speaks about positive mental attitude, or PMA, right? PMA. So PMA stands for positive mental attitude. He says a positive mental attitude is the right mental attitude in any given situation, and is most often composed of the plus characteristics symbolized by such words as faith, integrity, hope, optimism, courage, initiative, generosity, tolerance, tact, kindliness, and good common sense. PMA, or positive mental attitude, is the most important aspect of any attractive personality. Indeed, it is crucial to many of the 17 principles of success. PMA, or positive mental attitude, influences your tone of voice, posture, your facial expressions. It modifies every word you say and determines the nature of the emotions you feel. It affects every thought you have and the results your thoughts bring you. For the sake of contrast, let's examine the effects of a negative mental attitude. It dampens your enthusiasm, curtails your imagination, undermines your desire to be cooperative, overthrows your self-control, makes you sullen and intolerant, and as if these weren't enough, throws your reasoning out of gear. A negative mental attitude is so detrimental to your efforts that you are better off staying at home than venturing out into the world with you. It will only make you enemies and corrupt your good works and alliances. A lawyer who goes into court with the best case in the world will convince neither judge nor jury if her attitude is negative. What kind of confidence would you have in a sullen, pessimistic doctor, no matter how many degrees hang on the wall? Question. Answer, none, with an exclamation point. People simply will not tolerate a bad mental attitude. In contrast, a positive mental attitude opens doors and allows you to display your skills and ambitions. Imagine that a lawyer presenting her case with confidence, gaining the ear of judge and jury because she is distinctively self-assured. Wouldn't you rather be treated by a physician who sets you at ease, answers your questions plainly, and demonstrates a knowledge of his field? Question. Building a positive mental attitude is part of the other aspects of an attractive personality. As you read on, you'll see how understanding and applying each of these points reinforces your PMA or your positive mental attitude. And then it goes into flexibility and other things. And so, sincerity of purpose, promptness of decision, courtesy, etc. So yeah, more on the note of positivity, I just wanted to leave that there. I want to say, yo, I appreciate you. Salute to everybody who was tuned in tonight, who may listen to this on the playback. As we hear on 420, going into the holy day. Pardon. Going into the holy day, Friday, the 6th day, 421. Bro, my born day is this Saturday. And I'm just thankful to be alive, bro.
For real.
You know what I'm saying? And that we even got to talk about this tonight. And so, with that being said, I know we'll be back next month for another installment of Sons of Allah. I'll be tuned into Moors as y'all do what we do through the rest of the month. With that being said, man, it's no place like here, man. I always feel recharged and energized and, love the vibe of doing this. So, I just want to say peace to y'all, and I trust that, everything is going well, bro. I'm sure by next month we'll have more information and different perspectives about this topic that we spoke about tonight. But I just want to leave y'all love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, in how we started. And I'm going to enjoy the next couple of days and just be thankful that, in these days and times, I am alive. Nothing is ever promised. So taking it one day at a time, man, is definitely key. But I enjoy every time I do this, every time we do this. For all you Moors on the chat, all you Moors who listening now, and who will listen in the future, man. Like, I appreciate y'all. There's no place like right here. So with that being said, man, you know what I'm saying? Peace and love, and I trust y'all enjoy this weekend and the days to come. I know I am. And things is open for Moors right now. We just gotta know it. There was something else you sent me. I wanted to touch on that, but we'll touch on that later.
Yeah, we could do that. Yeah.
It's gonna take us somewhere else.
Straight.
And there's always so much to talk about. But forget them, you know what I'm saying? They're looking for stuff outside themselves, and that's on them. And so we're gonna keep it moving, bro. I appreciate you. Shout out to all the Canaanland Moors, and again, everybody listening who tuned in and who will listen to this on the playback. Salute to y'all. Peace and love. Oh, also, one more thing on the as above, so below level. For all the Moors out there into astrology and astronomy, depending on where you at, keep in mind, yes, Taurus season is now here, but it's also going to be Lyrian meteor showers, meaning that there's going to be a bunch of shooting stars over this weekend up until the 23rd. So if you close to like clear skies and all of that, like, yo, you could just camp out and, you know, see a bunch of shooting stars. You are not crazy. It happens every year. It's called Lyriad Meteor Showers. Lyriad. You know, so if you want to observe on the astrological, cosmological, or on the astronomy level, yeah, you'll see a bunch of shooting stars. So make a wish, man. All right? And with that being said, and not just a wish, make it happen. But with that being said, I want to say peace and love, and I appreciate you all. All right?
Peace and love.
Peace, Cool Joe. Peace, Canaanland boys.
Peace,
We're
Morris.
going to spin out at this point. Indeed. Peace.
King Boom. Started thinking like the colonists, you know what you are, people started profiting. Started thinking like the colonists, you know what you are, people started profiting. Started thinking like the colonists, you know what you are, people started profiting. Started thinking like the colonists, you know what you are, people started profiting. 30 more still attempt to infiltrate the border. Active more of a truth and take it to the corners. Across highways, past hedges and through borders. Move on 30 more like walking down water. Watch out for agents and provocateurs trying to get next to their heads with the doctor's cures. They never pay dues and don't pay dues. Contradicting with King Alfred to confuse like news. Noble Tuali died from film or blues. Prophet saved him as one before the fall fell through, and that's true. Even though I don't have proof, still a memory tells me don't fall for truth. Drop mental loop, hanging from their own vine from the fig tree. Looking up at them like baby. No white flag or mercy for you fags. 5 point and pentagram is on our flag. Green, but not for cream. That dirty was just to throw off the balance of the grand treasury books. Getting offers like high school ballers. Those that infiltrate are not wars but robbers. Robbing the people blind, deaf, dumb, and crippled. They can't tear this up, not one drop or trickle. No matter how hard they try to perpetrate the fraud, 30 more always fall on their sword. Start thinking like the colonists, you know what you are. Start profiting. Start thinking like the colonists, you know what you are. Start profiting. Start thinking like the colonists, you know what you are. Start profiting. Start thinking like the colonists, you know what you are. Start profiting. Me not play with us so simple and easy. From 19 how long me see it sleazy. So sick it's measly and disgusting. Everyone stood there. The Moors did nothing when Jew was attacked. They took the covenant that they will protect them and have his back. They hand on dues by 4 months. Going to Kango, new courts to perform stunts. Temples versus temples. Lawsuits from inner fights. Not doing their job. 3,500 for birthright. Mufti force that's supposed to be in Gucci stores to try to thank Allah for the Sufi more than Buddhist Nagas. Moorish Mike Renaissance, not rock sagas. Confusion clearer. Every battle star wearer. Moorish nationality declarer. Straighten out the crooked ways. Rap conduct squarer. Started thinking like the colonists, you know what you are. Started profiting. Started thinking like the colonists, you know what you are. Started profiting. Started thinking like the colonists, you know what you are. Started profiting. Started thinking like the colonists, you know what you are. Started profiting. Let me strip them down, I'm the bone bearer. Legal black colored minority death preparer. Not the being, but the label attached. See me like Martin going crazy, waving gas. Cause they call yourself black, that's a kicking shine on your life. Can't stab your enemy holding the blade of the knife. Numbskull MC throats, so all that. I'm pulling down on reachers like Starcast. To torture the rappers, deserve shivers. Rapper CD scratcher, insert ripper. Call me Jack and get flashed, though. Admiral when I flow, major like Admiral. Don't spit on a cameraman like Black Will. But beat the case like Black Bill, but no lawyer. Ask Jim Carrey, liars do nothing for you while they get rich and for you. Make you follow magistrate orders that get the coke, the snort from wood corners and block ghetto. All I see is rappers, dress codes, repetto, tight shirts, skinny jeans looking like heavy metal bands. I'm not made but L like bread and hands. I grab mics, no sweat in hands. With birds like brands, I don't worry about getting scanned. Started thinking like the colonists, you know what you are. Started profiting. Started thinking like the colonists, you know what you are. Started profiting. Started thinking like the communists. They know what you are. People started dropping it. The problem is, we started thinking like the communists. They know what you are. People started dropping it.